Former President Donald Trump made history on Tuesday, becoming the first former president to be arrested and arraigned on criminal charges. A grand jury indicted Trump on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. The charges stem from hush money paid to multiple people during the 2016 presidential campaign.
These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are. We cannot and will not normalize serious criminal conduct.
Trump pleaded not guilty. Later that same day, he held a rally at his home in Florida. He told supporters he never thought anything like this could happen in America.
The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it.
The next hearing in the case is scheduled for December. Well, joining us now on the show is U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany. First off, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Good to be with you, Lance.
So former President Donald Trump was indicted this past week, and on Twitter you called it an effort by the far left to weaponize our justice system. Now, are you saying that these charges you believe do not have legal merit?
Yeah, I believe that's the case. I mean, this is a political prosecution that's born out of political calculation. And they're attempting to go after the former president with really what you would say are trumped up charges. I mean, think about it. We have a Manhattan district attorney who has downgraded over half of his felonies that have occurred in New York City down to misdemeanors. Yet here he takes what is a misdemeanor and is upgrading it to a felony. So it's clearly done for political purposes. And we're seeing legal experts across the political spectrum panning this at this point, saying it's probably not going to be a successful prosecution.
But do we know exactly, or do you know exactly what the reasoning is behind, you mentioned, elevating those charges up to a felony, because that still hasn't been released to the public?
Yeah, that's right. I do not have that information, and I don't know what District Attorney Bragg is going to come up with to elevate that to a felony. And that is where the legal experts across the political spectrum are going, this really seems like a weak case. And that's what concerns me. Is this just a cynical effort on the part of a district attorney who's one of the Soros-funded district attorneys across the United States, that they're using this as a political weapon? That's not what people in America want. I mean, set aside whether, where you stand in regards to Donald Trump. Is this what we want to have happen in the future? Because you're going to see it on the other side also if this is going to become the standard.
Now, you've been a longtime supporter of President Trump. Do you plan to endorse or support him in his campaign for the 2024 presidential bid?
Yeah, I'm not going to endorse in this race. We're going to have perhaps a dynamic primary that'll come up. Whoever the people of Wisconsin, whoever the Republicans in Wisconsin choose as their candidate, and Republicans across America, that's who I'm going to support.
You have questioned in the past the 2020 election results. At this point, a couple years in now, do you believe Joe Biden won a fair election?
Joe Biden is the president of the United States. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, that's what came out of January 6th. He was sworn in on January 20th. He is the president of the United States.
But do you believe that the election process was a fair one?
So there were certainly irregularities across the country. I mean, look at what the state Supreme Court has done over the last couple of years. They've gotten rid of ballot drop boxes. We saw that $1.5 million came in via Zuckerbucks, Mark Zuckerberg, the rich owner of Facebook, that went into like the city of Green Bay. And he has pulled back his money now rather than trying to privatize elections. There were certainly irregularities, and that's what we were calling to account in regards to that. Hopefully these changes are going to help as we go forward to make sure that we have good, honest, fair elections. That's what all Americans expect.
Here in Wisconsin, the state Supreme Court balance is changing after this week's election. Abortion was a big topic, obviously, of this election. You previously supported a 20-week national abortion ban. Should this issue be decided at the state or national level?
I think the issue should be decided at the state level. I mean, I think back to, what was it, like 6 or 7 years ago when I was in the state Senate, we passed a 20-week abortion ban, which I think made a lot of sense at the time. So, yeah, I think it should be, should be decided at the state level.
So you're okay with the state Supreme Court ultimately potentially deciding what happens here in Wisconsin?
The state Supreme Court may choose to do that. I believe the legislators that are duly elected in the state of Wisconsin should have a say in that. I mean, it should be like any other bill that you're looking at turning into a law. It should be decided by the legislature, and that's the great concern that many people have as the Supreme Court perhaps changes direction here. Are they going to try to become a super legislature? I hope with the addition of Janet Protasevich to the board or to the Supreme Court, I hope they don't try to become a super legislature.
Talking about some of these other national issues that are going on right now in the country, you've said you're against sending further aid to Ukraine. Why is that?
Because we have enough challenges here at home. I mean, if you look at some of the stories of the day, we're seeing that our stockpiles are drawing down, and our military stockpiles. I mean, think about it. President Biden left $85 billion worth of munitions behind in Afghanistan in 2021. We've been sending a significant amount of munitions to the Ukraine, and it is really becoming a problem for preparedness for America. And our number one adversary is China. We must never take our eye off from the ball that China is our chief adversary, and we need to be prepared for that. So let's make sure we take care of things at home at first. So I just think America has real challenges at this point. We have become weaker over the last couple years. We are no longer energy independent. We're basically a borderless country where people just come across and are welcomed into America, though they're coming in illegally. The number of fentanyl deaths, that is a travesty for Americans. We have hundreds of people that are dying every day, every week, as a result of fentanyl poisonings. We have inflation that continues apace. We have rising crime yet in our major cities, including right here in Wisconsin. We have significant challenges in America. We need to take care of those things first to make sure we have a strong America. And then those other countries that are our adversaries, like Russia, they will have greater respect for us. But we have to have a strong America first in order to be respected.
So you don't share the concern of many European countries about Russian aggression in that area?
Oh, I share the concerns in regards to Russian aggression, no doubt about it. But let's also make sure that those allies we have in Europe, like Germany, they need to pony up here. They need to put more money in. Because what they do is they sit back and wait for us to be the leader to throw more and more money in. We can help lead, but they need to put more money into this rather than simply relying on America.
You've introduced the Trust the Science Act to remove the gray wolf from the endangered species list. Kind of what's the motivation there?
The motivation is to return management of the wolf to the state. The state of Wisconsin and states across the country should be managing the wolf just like other wildlife populations. And I remember 10 years ago when I believe it was 26 wildlife biologists here in the Upper Great Lakes, they said to a judge, you really need to delist the wolf because it is no longer endangered. And it's important when a species is no longer endangered that it come off from the endangered species list. We had great testimony a couple of weeks ago on this bill, and it's time to delist. Let's allow the state to manage the wolf population just like other wildlife populations. Wisconsin proved that they could manage the wolf and that they could have a wolf season and the numbers would still stay at levels that are appropriate. And I believe the state has proven that they can manage the wolf, and we should return that duty to the states, including Wisconsin.
All right, Representative Tiffany, thank you so much for the time here this week.
Lance, it's good to join you today.